Welcome back to Disruptors Unleashed, the series that highlights the disruptive technologies shaping our world. In our previous episode, we looked at product reformulation with our trailblazers, Robin Mendelakis from Act 2 Consulting, Nanda Kumar Subramaniam from Tech Mahindra, and independent consultant Rick Peppermintz. This episode will be a story of hope and perseverance. Easton LaChapelle, the visionary founder of Unlimited Tomorrow, talks about his journey of improving lives by crafting the world's most lightweight and affordable 3D printed prosthetic limbs.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Easton LaChapelle in upstate New York, and here to hear his story. I remember seeing Easton as a 14-year-old, was it?
Yeah, 14. Yep.
14 when you visited the White House, and then again more recently with a new version of what you took to the White House, and I've just been completely inspired by that story. So great that we can share it with a lot more people, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So Easton, tell us your story. How did it all start?
Yeah, well, looking back, to give some context, I grew up in a very small town in Colorado named Mancos. The population was about 1,200 people. I was a kid who would run to school, and I took it seriously, but I always loved tinkering and taking things apart when I was little. I always had a curiosity for how things work and why things work. I would take apart microwaves, toasters, appliances, video games like VCRs, anything to get my hands on. And a lot of that had electronics in it. So I started realizing that a lot of what was taken apart had these small black chips that seemed to power the world we know today, these integrated circuits. Yeah. And there's an incredible amount happening there. But I was always looking for a way to really understand what was happening beneath that surface. And that's when I was about 13 or 14. I started to turn to the internet. My graduating class in high school was about 23 students. And so you can imagine there was a lot of limited resources. And so I would run home from school, turn to the internet. And the internet provided two main things for me. It provided access to a vast amount of information. I could look at tutorials and videos and, I'll read blog posts and forums. It also provided a way to communicate. So I could talk to experts in these fields, really understand what was going on within, some of these engineering disciplines. And at that time, I was looking for a project to dive into, to really understand, start grasping a lot of these. I love tinkering and take things apart, but now I was looking for a way to combine that into one and start creating. And after a couple months of researching, I decided to make a robotic hand controlled by a wireless control glove. Essentially, this is a robotic hand that when you move your hand, it would copy and mimic your motions. So that, as you can imagine, that's software. There's electronic
project to start with.
Yeah. Well, it was a little far-fetched. I mean, this is when I was 14. I knew nothing about engineering. The software, electronics, and mechanics. Even just building a robotic hand is a challenge in itself. But luckily, I was motivated. This was something I didn't think about a project. It was kind of out of curiosity and boredom, running home from school and tinkering. And
there was nothing that made you think, I want to do it. Like you didn't see something. There was no. How did you decide on that?
I don't know. And I actually get asked that question quite a bit. Like why a robotic hand? And I think for me, I think it was a couple of things. It was very open ended. I could start very simply. It also encompassed, a lot of different disciplines of engineering, and it was something I could relate to. It was something that was interactive. It was fun. A lot of these other projects, seemed, they seemed fun to do. But what happens when you complete it? Where do you go from there? And so I saw a lot of different ways I could, just the robotic hand alone, new actuators, the software behind it, the control systems. There's a lot there, and that's when I started to start creating. I used Legos as plastic supports, fishing line as the tendons, electrical tubing as the fingers, small servo motors from RC airplanes, and pieced together a robotic hand. And it took a couple months of trial and error, and it was an evolution. I actually remember, I grew up in a very small house, and so I was tinkering on the living room table, and I started turning my bedroom into a lab and staying up very late, and started to learn software and Arduino and turning to the open source community, and I kind of just found a passion and loved to create. So it was something I run home from school and start working on well into the night, and it started really transforming. Something that was interesting when I think back is it wasn't easy. There was a lot of trial and error and failure, and that actually I owe a lot to that. A good example, I used XB radios, and I bricked those very, very fast. It was hard to grasp that, but actually by bricking them, I understood exactly what was going on and how to fix that, which made me forced me to learn all the in and outs and how they actually work at a system level and how to incorporate that better.
Yeah, I think that's where I went wrong, because I'd take stuff apart and then not be able to put them back together again. So
it's quite the skill to have.
Yeah, awesome. And so when did you first come across 3D printing? Was that just something you found on the internet? And
yeah, so looking back, this was when I was 14, so this is probably back in 2011, 2012. And this is when 3D printing was just starting to hit the consumer market. This was MakerBot Industries, the original cupcakes made out of laser cut wood, the really, really interesting, cool printers, and, very maker, level. And this was when it was just starting to hit the consumer market. This was, I just completed the first robotic hand. I plugged it in. I saw it working. It was amazing, and it totally motivated me to take it to the next level. What if I added an opposable thumb or individual finger joints, made it look more human-like, and then added a level of functionality on top of that? It excited me. There's a lot to evolve. And it was the obvious next step was to go beyond these electrical tubing, pieces and fishing line, and to evolve into a more custom kind of version and design of this. And so this is when 3D printing started to really come into the picture. I started to teach myself CAD, and actually at the time I was into a lot of video making and Adobe After Effects, and that's why I started getting into motion tracking, and that was kind of my intro into thinking about 3D and very, very simple 3D modeling. And so it started to kind of get my mindset into the world of designing a fingertip and how the joints can interact. And that was a really cool part, actually designing something in 3D. And then at the time I never 3D printed anything, so actually being able to think like I can design something that can be physical and that I can make truly custom, and that really changed my thought process of creating. The problem was I didn't have a 3D printer. MakerBot was still kind of in its infancy, so it wasn't widely available. I couldn't go to my library. There was no like Shapeways or contract manufacturers like that. There were some high-end contract manufacturers. I remember sending my design out to a couple of them in Colorado. I was getting quotes upwards of about $500 to print this robotic hand. And that was too expensive for me. I had the money from mowing lawns over the summer, and that was too much.
A lot of lawns.
Yeah. So I get a little creative, and it actually comes back to the internet and utilizing social media. I actually had a friend who was an electrical engineer working at MakerBot Industries, and then he's been helping me with some software here and there, and kind of helping me understand it all. And he was able to throw it on the printer one night, and I had to pay for shipping. So it was kind of utilizing the internet and kind of the crowd in that sense.
That's awesome.
So that changed everything. I remember the moment very clearly when I opened up that box for the first time and saw something I designed actually physically in front of me, and that changed a lot for me.
Wow. Yeah. And then at some point, did you obtain your own 3D printer, or did you build your own? Or...
Yeah, so I got my first 3D printer for my 16th birthday. It was from a Kickstarter project from a company called PrinterBot.
Okay.
And it was all laser cut wood. It was kind of the first of a kind from Kickstarter. Those were kind of the Gen 1 prototypes and everything like that. And but that changed everything for me. That was something that I had running 24/7 in my bedroom. It really changed the whole process behind it. So I went from this 3D printed hand to full robotic arm, started working with other motors, and pretty much growing every aspect of the project. So software is getting more intensive, electronics, looking at the power systems, the sensors, and that's when I started getting into new control systems as well. So I really enjoyed the concept and implementation of telerobotics. So being able to capture human-like motion and with the gloves and other sensors on your arm. And that's actually, at the time, this was when a lot of media attention was starting to pick up about what I was doing with I was featured in Popular Mechanics magazine when I was 15 with some of these initial designs, and started to kind of get all started entering these into science fair, and that started to evolve into other publications and media opportunities. And I was featured in Popular Science in 2013, and the Robonaut team at NASA actually saw that article and reached out to me through email and said, we love what you're doing. Do you want to come down and do an internship at John's Space Center and work on the Robonaut project, which was really centered around telerobotics. So that was a pretty cool little treat along the way.
Awesome. So what strikes me about your story is there's so many barriers that would have stopped a lot of people from doing that, and it just seems you found a way around it. And it's it's a truly inspirational kind of message, because firstly, you didn't know anything about robotic arms, but you decided to tackle it anyway. And then, as you said, 3D printing parts was too expensive. But again, you just found your way around it.
Right, exactly. And I think there was a level of me being naive or not, when I remember growing up and thinking about like people who make robots and how amazing that is and how cool that is. But it always felt so distant to me that, how do you, there's probably only a couple people that do that. How do you actually make money in that world? And it was kind of a goal of mine to get into that world, but it seemed so far away. But then, all these opportunities and, I didn't look at it as barriers. I don't think it was just like, oh, just another challenge just to figure out. And that for me seemed fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good mindset to have, that you just see it as a challenge.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you say there was nothing that really kind of inspired you, or is there something in the kind of engineering making kind of world that is truly inspirational, that perhaps where you see yourself in a few years' time, maybe?
Yeah, I love the practice and implementation and the full really the process of turning ideas to reality. It's a very exciting process of going through the kind of the napkin sketch and then converting that into 3D models, refining and iterating, and then being able to produce that physically and implement that into a system. And that's a really exciting piece for me, is really incorporating a lot of that. I also really like the system level of it all. It's not only just mechanics, it's really designing a full system. And that's something I think I really enjoyed. And I think, if I had, other skill sets, if I was really strong and mechanical, I probably wouldn't have done what I've done. And it was exploring all these different disciplines equally, and if one lacked, then it would completely change the full project and product. So for me, it was just exploring the unknown, learning new things, and for me, being able to find these resources through the internet, I could learn at a rapid pace and my own pace and through my own learning styles, and I could talk and iterate extremely fast, and print and work on new code. And as the consumer electronics get better and adding wireless radios, there was just a world that was just at my fingertips that excited me and made me actually want to do something about it.
Wow. So and now obviously we should talk about your company.
Yeah.
Limited Tomorrow. Tell us how you got into that. And
so everything that we talked about up to now, this has been kind of before a really special event that happened to me, and that event really motivated me to take this to the next level. This was in 2013 at the State Science Fair in Colorado. It was during public viewing. I brought this full robotic arm that could toss a ball to you, shake someone's hand. It could interact with people. I welded together this giant steel skeleton to hold this arm, and it was pretty amazing. But I met a small girl that had an $80,000 prosthetic limb that was simpler than what I created. And for me, it was an eyeful. It was, there was kids and adults running all over the place. I noticed this one little girl, she was looking at the details more than anybody else. She was moving the fingers, and it caught my eye, and I realized that she was missing her right arm and was wearing a prosthetic device. It was an eyeful. This was a very simple human-like claw prosthetic device with one motion, one sensor next to this robotic arm I made that had individual finger motion, better control systems. It was human-like, and it surprised me. And I started talking to her parents more about this and understanding the process, how much time it takes, the cost of it. And it really opened my eyes, especially for children missing a limb. Found out that it had taken months to create. It's about $80,000, and there's a psychological aspect of, if this little girl gets bullied at school, she really needs and wants a prosthetic limb to, make her feel kind of fit in. And that to me was the moment that I realized that this was bigger than me, and I saw a lot of opportunity to take what I was doing in front of my bedroom and impact people's lives around the world, as this girl's not the only one. And pretty much right after that moment, I remember actually this was about 8 hours north of where I lived, and on the whole car ride back, I started working on new designs. I was pretty much drawing and sketching the whole time, and right when I got back, went into CAD and started designing up this brand new prosthetic limb, essentially. So completely 3D printed custom gearboxes, very organic human-like shapes, a lot of better mechanics, functionality, the control system as well. And when you think about a prosthetic, it's really a self-contained robotic hand or arm or leg, and a very intuitive control system behind it. So just kind of two pieces to the puzzle, and you're essentially merging man and machine. And so that's a difficult task. Even just one of those is pretty difficult, with creating a human-like self-contained robotic hand that weighs within that range and looks and has the feel and dexterity and functionality behind that. And so I started looking into brainwave headsets. How do we really turn either these muscle movements or thoughts or certain triggers into movements, make this as intuitive as possible. And that's really where kind of the development process started to really take off. Actually being able to, I've kind of learned the 3D printing process, the modeling process, the iterative process. At this time, my bedroom was not a bedroom; it was a lab with a bed in the corner, and I was just, kind of enthralled and encapsulated with everything I was doing, and it was exciting. And so this again is where media attention started to really take off with certain magazines, publications. This project, I won second place in the world in engineering at the International Science Fair, which put me on a lot of people's radar. And that's when I was invited to the White House for the White House Science Fair in 2013, where President Obama shook hands with this arm. And that was a really amazing moment. That was special.
I hope he shook your hand as well.
Oh, he did.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it was special. Just coming from such a small town and being able to, be at that level. I thought that was impossible, and that was, it excited me as people like that are showcasing innovation and young people creating, and that needs to happen a lot more within the STEM and STEAM world. And that was, for me, I thought it was so far out there, and it's like thinking that people can't actually make robots for a living, like that's so far out there. But these kind of moments happened where it really made it tangible and kind of showed what could really happen in that world. And so I started. I was invited to give a TED talk, a TEDx talk in Denver, where I started talking about my creation and going from my bedroom and learning from the internet. And that's actually how one of my main investors, Tony Robbins, who's an amazing motivational speaker and life coach, he saw that and reached out to me. He said, I've helped people around the world psychologically, and I'd love to help you take that a step further and help them physically. And so this was when I was just about to graduate high school. I was 17 years old, just about to turn 18, and decided to go into this full force. I had all this momentum behind what I was doing. The designs were making huge leaps, and it's starting to get to the point where we can actually work with amputees and start testing these in person. And it was a pretty obvious choice for me to actually take that to the next level and start a company. So February of 2014, Unlimited Tomorrow was founded. So Tony Robbins helped provide some startup capital and mentorship and guidance, and go from a bedroom to a garage, and started building a team and resources, getting good 3D printers, and it's been amazing. So this was that was almost 4 years ago when the company was founded, and between now and then, a lot of this has been slim R&D, really validating, proving out this technology, and really creating the business model and structure to support that. I look at this as we're not only helping a couple, little girls or a couple people around the world. We're helping over 40 million people globally, and this is a big problem. And of that 40 million, only 5% of them have access to prosthetic devices. And this is a problem that not a lot of people know. Like everybody's seen, or as at a grocery store has seen someone, missing a limb with a prosthetic device, but they never realize how big that problem is. Yeah. And there's a lot of problems, not only just the accessibility, but the cost. And as you can imagine, for a child, if you're missing a limb, there's psychological aspects of missing a limb and not having a prosthetic device. And if you look at it, it's pretty much between a $10,000 to $80,000 pair of shoes, every 12 to 14 months.
Yeah.
And that to me is just not acceptable. And so using new technologies like 3D printing, 3D scanning, AI to augment and automate this process really is really what this market needs. And it all comes back to the user and the people who can benefit from this. And I think that they've been neglected over the last 30 years. It's been 3 big global companies that run the industry. There's been very little innovation, and it's really there's a lot to that problem. But it's really building new technology up, creating a business model that's scalable, so we can solve this problem at a global level. And that's really where we are right now. Yeah. We started working with a number of people this year. We're working with 100 amputees around the world, a lot of children and adults. To be able to continue validating and testing this technology. We're rolling out a new model within prosthetic devices where we actually deploy 3D scanners to the amputee in the comfort of their own home. So a family member or friend scans the arm that they're missing and the opposite full arm if they have one. And we use that data to extract measurements and to make a mirror image. So we're using SolidWorks and a lot of the kind of our custom design workflow. We input these measurements into kind of a master model that then we can make a customized device within a matter of seconds for each person. So then we deploy that to a fleet of 3D printers that can print in a very strong material, but also in color, so we match skin tone. And then we assemble it and ship it back to the person.
Wow, that must be incredible when you see someone wearing your device.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's so amazing. Just actually a couple of weeks ago, we were working with a young girl, and there's so many little things like when she put on the device for the first time, that was the first time she was able to roll down both of her long sleeves. Like she's in her long sleeve shirt, she's never been able to roll down both sleeves. And that was just like one of those little things. I'm like, wow, I've never even thought about that. And there's a level of like deep personal impact. And, for me, it involves a lot of my passions, and those passions have been evolving. It's still turning ideas to reality, pushing technology to the max, using new manufacturing methods to solve, big problems at a global level, but then really being able to impact people's lives at a deep level. And we always, one of the first things that we ask is, well, what's something that you can't do that you really want to do? And it could be holding a camera or, going kayaking. And, there's just certain things like that, this technology or with them missing an arm, they've just never been able to do. So that's been, really special. We actually have a tagline where we create these, we create devices as tenacious as the people who wear them. And that's something that we really tailor and make very unique. We've also fit a tremendous amount of technology into this. We have, and really it comes back to the user experience. We have fingernails for the first time that someone can paint, which is a very kind of obvious but overlooked feature in a lot of other devices. And so that's something that we really want to, put kind of as a top priority. We have wireless charging, so there's no connectors. You just put it on a base and overnight, and it's charged right up. We have a battery life that lasts 3 to 4 days, which is better than any other device.
Yeah, better than most smartwatches.
Yeah, exactly. And all this comes back to really creating the product from the ground up. And so almost everything that we do is custom made. So there's no off-the-shelf components or pre-designed systems that we implement, which have a lot of these inefficiencies and a lot of the problems of current devices. So everything's really custom and built around the application. We have force feedback. So someone actually has a sense of touch when they pick up an egg. We've been pioneering new biometric sensors to read muscles at high resolution and get a world of data that we get so much data that we actually have to implement pattern recognition and machine learning and deep learning to actually decode that and convert that into something meaningful for the person. So certain grips, and so creating these full feedback loops to the user's mind. And so we're getting into a really amazing side of this where there's a lot of data that can really change the user experience for the better and make it tailored, very unique to them, that actually it functions to the brain as if it's a real hand. And we're finding that reduces learning time tremendously. Within the first 10 minutes of Momo, who's one of the first recipients of the device, you could actually see the moment where her brain clicked and she started focusing on moving the hand versus moving her muscles. And that's a really special moment to witness.
Yeah, I guess in a way you're trying to catch up over thousands of years of evolution and in a few years of starting the company.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tricky, and a lot of these technologies, as you can imagine, can be applied in a lot of other areas. And as really the big message of Unlimited Tomorrow is augmenting the human body. So we're starting with upper extremity prosthetic limbs, looking at lower extremity prosthetic limbs. With this business model and structure that we're creating, we can accommodate a lot of these new products and really solve these problems at a large scale. Also looking at mobility and exoskeletons and how we can use new technology and motors and battery systems and it's really systems that we're creating to help benefit someone's life and make them either more independent or mobile or psychologically benefit from going to school and not getting bullied or something like that, and the level of functionality along the way.
So that's incredible. All the barriers you've overcome, like being a startup, one of the challenges is always kind of funding. And you said you met the right people at the right times. What's the plan for kind of continuing working with these 100 amputees?
Yeah, well, so earlier this year, we actually turned to a kind of an interesting way to raise money, and that's really setting the bar for us. So. Out of the Limited Tomorrow, we help people in very deep personal ways. And so we felt it was very natural to turn to the crowd. And so there's lots of ways that we can utilize crowd and crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. And we chose to go through a financial round through equity crowdfunding. So we went through Microventures and Indiegogo, and we actually broke records. We raised about $1.6 million in 30 days through equity crowdfunding. So over 1,200 investors. And it was a really good fit for that. And we really want to utilize the crowd as, we want to turn to the people to help people. And so later this year, we're creating another Indiegogo campaign to raise money so we can donate the next 100 units to people around the world to help continue testing and validating this and really help take this to market and bring this to life.
That's awesome. That's such a great cause.
Yeah.
So check out Unlimited Tomorrow on Indiegogo. So what's next? So you kind of expanding to other body parts for people. What have you thought any further than that? Or
well, there's a lot in the works. Just recently we moved to New York to be able to expand our facility and getting some really amazing support. We have some amazing enterprise partnerships, with Dassault and some other large companies that help us, find the best technology. And on a product perspective, we can make a better product faster and better, and also help bring it around the world. So really, we want to master the upper extremity limbs. We want to cater to below the elbow, above the elbow, and we've been changing designs to really cater to the mass around that. So part of this also comes back to solving this out of global problem. It really comes down to relationships. So looking at partnering with foundations and nonprofits to help take this around the world. The people who really need it, and the people who need it most are the people who don't have the money or it's not accessible to. We really want to solve that. So we're really focused on that. As you can imagine, this technology is very cross-platform, so that's something that we're always working on is developing technology that we can use in many other ways, and looking at other products in the future, and really building the infrastructure as well. So we have a facility, amazing R&D facility, a production facility that we can actually practically make these and scale to very large amounts. And that's sometimes some of the biggest hurdles along the way. So we have some amazing infrastructure that allows us to do some amazing things right now.
Great. Well, keep up the good work is all I can say.
Thank you. Well, I feel like I'm just getting started in a lot of ways. This is, I feel like we are still a young company, and we're making things happen.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. You got an awesome facility here in New York, and I'm expecting even bigger things to come. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you.
Inviting me in, and all the best.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you,
Easton.
Disruptors Unleashed is produced by Dassault Systèmes. For more episodes, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, or your nearest audio streaming platform. To learn more about Dassault Systems, visit us at 3ds.com.